Laura, why are you screaming at mom? That's not going to solve anything. I'm just frustrated. She's always asking for something, and I don't have time to take care of her every need. I understand that it can be difficult, but she's still your mother. You have to show her some respect. It's easy for you to say. You're not a real daughter to her like I am. What do you mean? I have always treated your mom like my mom, and I am happy to help you take care of her. That's not the same thing. Stop acting like you're above it all. Laura, all I'm saying is that I am willing to help. And it's not fair for you to take your frustrations out on your mom. Shut up, Daisy. You think you're her favorite, huh? Laura, please, calm down. You're being unreasonable. Oh, yeah? And you're in my house. Get out. You're not welcome here. My name is Daisy, and I have been married to my husband Dave for over 10 years. We met when we were both in high school and have been inseparable ever since. We are both in our late 30s now, and our marriage is the best thing that has ever happened to me. I never thought I could be this happy, but my husband has shown me what true love is all about. Growing up in an orphanage, I missed out on a lot as a child. I didn't have the love and support that most kids have from their parents, and I always felt like something was missing in my life. However, when I met my husband, everything changed. He showed me what it means to have a family, and we have built a beautiful life together. Together, we have raised our son Jason to be a bright, young gentleman, just like his dad. What made my husband even more of a blessing to my life was his parents. Luckily, my parents-in-law took me in and loved me like I was their own daughter. They never made me feel like an outsider and always treated me with kindness and respect. I will forever be grateful for their love and support throughout the years. 2 years ago, my father-in-law passed away, and it was a hard time for everyone in the family. It was really tough to see my husband and his mother go through so much pain and grief. My father-in-law was a wonderful man, and his loss was felt by everyone who knew him. Despite the loss, my mother-in-law tried to stay strong and keep going. However, she eventually decided to move and stay with my sister-in-law, Laura, who lived in the same city. It was a tough decision for her to make, but we knew that it was the best thing for her. Even though she moved away, we were still keeping in touch and visiting each other whenever we could. My husband and I made sure to call her every week to check in and see how she was doing. It's important to us that she knew that we loved her and that she's always a part of our family. One day when I was visiting my mother-in-law, I walked into an argument. My sister-in-law Laura was yelling at our mother. She was so loud and angry, I couldn't even make out what she was trying to say. I could see the pain and hurt in my mother-in-law's eyes, and it broke my heart. Laura was so close to pushing our mother that I felt like I had to intervene. Laura, why are you screaming at Mom? That's not going to solve anything. I'm so frustrated. She's always asking for something, and I don't have time to take care of her every need. I understand that it can be difficult, but she's still your mother. You have to show her some respect. It's easy for you to say you're not a real daughter to her like I am. What do you mean? I've always treated your mom like my own, and I'm happy to help you take care of her. That's not the same thing. Stop acting like you're above it all. Laura, all I'm saying is that I'm willing to help, and it's not fair for you to take your frustrations out on your mom. Shut up, Daisy. You think you're her favorite, huh? Laura, please, calm down. You're being unreasonable. Oh, yeah? And you're in my house. Get out. You're not welcome here. Seeing that Laura had completely lost her temper, I quickly packed up my belongings and asked our mother to go outside and grab a coffee with me. Of course, it was not about the coffee. I just needed some alone time with her, so I could try and figure out what had happened between them. As for Laura, she passive-aggressively gave me a condescending look before leaving the room. It seemed like she didn't even care how our mother was feeling. When I talked to my mother-in-law about the argument, I found out that she had been really uncomfortable living with Laura. It turned out that Laura didn't want to take care of her and had been making up reasons to be mad at her. My mother-in-law felt like a burden and didn't want to cause any trouble, so she didn't say anything to us about it. That day, all she did was accidentally drop a flower vase to the floor, causing it to crack a little. And yet, Laura felt the need to scream at her like that. I was shocked and angry when I found out what was going on. How could Laura treat her own mother that way? Immediately, I knew what I had to do. I discussed it with my husband and let him talk to Laura about the whole situation. My husband and I gladly took our mother to our place and took care of her, because we both had missed her a lot and we enjoyed living with her. It was a bit of an adjustment at first, but we quickly settled into a routine. I loved having my mother-in-law around, and I could tell that she was much happier and more comfortable in our home. At that point, Jason was still a toddler, and he was thrilled to have his grandmother around too. He loved spending time with her and listening to her. Of course, taking care of our mother was no easy task. I decided to put my dream on hold for it. I'd always wanted to open my own cafe, and I knew that being responsible for our mother might prolong my plan a little. But I was willing to do that for her and for our happy family. I'd never felt like she was just my husband's mom. She's my mom too. As for Laura's part, she seemed to leave us alone. She never called to check up on our mother or us, and she never visited. But still, we made sure to visit Laura regularly, despite the fact that our relationship was strained. It was hard to be around her after what had happened, and there was still a lot of tension between us. However, we tried to stay cordial for the sake of our mother. Still, no matter how hard we tried, it seemed like none of our efforts was meaningful to Laura. One day, Laura visited us and claimed that we had been mistreating our mother for such a long time. I was shocked by her accusations, as they were completely untrue. My mother-in-law was happy and healthy, and we had been taking great care of her. But Laura refused to listen to reason and insisted that we were treating our mother poorly. She didn't stop there either. She started telling all of our neighbors and friends about her acquisitions and urged them to report us to the police. I was mortified and embarrassed and couldn't believe that she would stoop so low. Eventually, the police did come to our house to investigate the claims. But after speaking with us and our mother in law, they quickly realized that there was no truth to Laura's accusations. They left without incident, but the damage had already been done. Our relationship with Laura was irreparably damaged after that incident. She had crossed a line that couldn't be undone. To make matters worse, she even insisted on taking our mother in law to live with her again, despite how badly she had treated her before. We were heartbroken to see our family torn apart like this, but we knew we had to say no. We knew what Laura had been up to. We couldn't trust her anymore. That night, my mother in law made sure Jason was fast asleep when she initiated a serious conversation with us. She said that she might know the reason why Laura suddenly wanted her to be back there. I was surprised, worried, and curious at the same time. "What do you mean, Mom? What's going on?" "Well, to be completely honest, Laura has been eyeing your late father's inheritance, and she thinks that she can get her hands on it by taking care of me." "That's ridiculous. She's not even taking care of you properly, and she's just doing it for the money." "I know, but your sister can be very manipulative, and she's been trying to convince me to come live with her." "That's terrible. Why would she do that?" "It's all about money, unfortunately." "I didn't even know that we were going to inherit anything." "I'm sorry, honey. We were keeping it a secret. Your father and I had a fund for you and Laura. The money should be accessible on your 30th birthday. It was supposed to be for your future little family." Mother's eyes were getting teary when she mentioned our late father. I was emotional too. I gave her a long, comforting hug, and I thanked her for being such a thoughtful, loving parent. Somehow, that gave her the strength to continue talking. "We made the mistake of letting your sister know about the fund. Something changed her since that day. It was as if she was doing everything for money. She constantly asked me what she was supposed to do to get access to that fund earlier." "I'm sorry you've been dealing with this alone, Mom." "Your sister was a stubborn kid. She still is. I love her, but I can't help but wonder how she has turned out to be such a person." My husband and I shared an emphatic look. We both knew what the other person was thinking. By that time, Laura's 30th birthday was coming close. She wanted that fund so badly that she decided to act as soon as she could. "But Mom, I don't get it. If she was going to get the fund anyway, why is she causing all of these troubles? All she has to do is wait. You're perfectly happy here with us, right?" "Yes, dear, but things are not so simple. You see, she suspected that I cut her out of that fund." "What? Why would she think that?" "You actually cut her out?" "No, of course I didn't. But she thought I did, because of how much she was screaming at me and mistreating me. The truth is, your dad was the only person who knew what was on his will. He was in charge of all the finances, and I was happy not to be involved." "But Laura thinks that you are?" "Yes, and she doesn't believe me when I try to talk to her. It was all about money to her now. Mother, I'm sorry you're going through this. We'll do our best to keep you safe and sound right here. We shared a warm hug, and we knew that with or without the fund, the three of us and Jason would always make a perfect family. I was worried but relieved because Mom could finally trust us enough to share the story with us. It must have been hard to carry such a huge burden alone. From that point on, Laura started visiting us often and persistently trying to get our mother to move in with her. She hung around our house a lot, attempting to sway our opinion by giving us all kinds of empty promises about how she would take good care of our mom or how she would never scream at her again. But our mother repeatedly refused to leave our place. When Laura failed to regain our mom's trust, she showed her true colors almost immediately. One day, Laura came over to visit, and this time she asked for some money. She said that she only needed $200,000 and that she wouldn't ask for anything else from us ever again. When we asked her what the money was for, she replied it was personal and that she couldn't talk about it. Obviously, none of us had that kind of money available. We didn't even know how much we would have from our late father's fund. Plus, we had a kid to raise. I was extremely agitated and overwhelmed with the situation, as Laura had become an immense burden on our mother. Her mental and physical health were both rapidly deteriorating, and I desperately wanted Laura to stay away from us to ensure our mom got the help she needed. Right when I was feeling so bad about everything, my husband stepped in. He assured me he would settle the situation. A few days later, Laura stopped showing up at our door. When I asked my husband what he did, he didn't give me all the details. He said that he managed to borrow some money from other people and took out some of his savings. He didn't want his sister to be a burden to us, and he had the responsibility for it. I was relieved, but I was also feeling really bad for him. I wish he didn't have to deal with so much stress coming from all the financial issues, but there wasn't much that we could do. At least, Laura did leave us alone. Dave and I were struggling for a long while. Financially, we were barely getting by. Dave had to work overtime every day to pay for the loan he took, and I decided to take out most of my savings, which were supposed to be for my cafe. Dave apologized so many times, but of course I didn't want to make him feel even worse. We promised each other that we would get through this together. A few months later, a miracle came to us. It was my husband's 27th birthday, and we had already decided to have a small, humble celebration at home. Suddenly, we received a message from our late father's lawyer saying that the fund was then available for us. Dave and I rushed to the lawyer's office to figure out what was happening. We were completely astounded and taken aback when we found out that our father had left us over $1 million in his will. None of us had any clue that he had been saving up such a massive sum of money over the years. He made some really wise investments in real estate, so it was amazing to discover just how much of an incredible legacy he was leaving behind for us. As we began to sort through our father's estate, we discovered some troubling information about Laura. It turned out that she had been wasting a lot of her own money on gambling, and she had hidden that fact from all of us. Our father had known about her addiction, and he had threatened to cut her out of the inheritance if she didn't get help. And judging from her recent behaviors, we concluded that she did not get the help she needed after all. Perhaps that was why our father had to cut her out and gave us the money 3 years sooner than he originally planned. Upon finding out that she was indeed cut off from her inheritance, Laura was furious. She came back to ask for more money, even though Dave had already given her the $200,000 that she wasn't even entitled to. What's worse was that she had already spent all of that money on gambling. We were enraged, but now that we knew she had a serious problem, we had to take action. We took her to a rehab center where she could finally get the help she needed. As for me, I was finally able to fulfill my dream of opening a coffee shop. With the inheritance money, I was able to secure a prime location and purchase all the equipment I needed to get started. It was a lot of hard work, but I loved every minute of it. I spent long hours perfecting my recipes and creating a cozy atmosphere for our customers. My little family was also thrilled with the new business. My husband helped me with the bookkeeping and marketing, while Jason loved to come by after school and help out behind the counter. Our mother was thrilled to help with the decorations of the place. It was a true family affair, and we all felt proud of what we had accomplished. I knew that we had our beloved father to thank for making it all possible.